Good morning, Rabbi Yisai. Leilu Nishmas Chaim Oren. Start off with a geschmacke video. If you're wondering where Avraham Yosef is, he's in Georgia with a large contingency of frum kids that are skiing, and here they are. Some of them. Okay. Dear Rebellion, everyone at MDY. This is from Reb Elimelech Goldberg. He's been here for a year, and I finally learned who he is. I'm celebrating a full year at MDY, during which I was zoicha to learn most of Yevamos, Ksubis, Nedarim, and Nazir in 1 year. I joined originally just for the month of Nisan to help me get through Ben Azmanim without missing a single day of learning. But of course, once I joined, I was hooked. It hasn't been that easy for my wife, but in all we've seen tremendous siyata shmaya, me and my learning, and she in her job as a private chef. I've reconnected through the shir with long-lost friends and relatives, including Nisim Chassid in Gibraltar and Shlomo Fontaine, how do you spell it? Fontaine in Canada, Moshe Patashnik. You can't. Do you have any names that are normal? Shamsi Shlafrat, not your friend? Elamel, get over here for a second. Bemis, I want to finally meet you. I don't think I ever shook your hand and said hello to you. You've been sitting here for an entire year. I shook your hand in Miami.
He hasn't watched it since.
You've been here for a whole year. You're Mamshat Tzaddik. You're Nechbala Kalim. Last night, you brought a Chaim for the Olam, and you brought the Mezainis, and I forgot to read this email. So today I brought my own L'chaim for you. Here. And also Mezainis for the Olam here. Give it out. You make a... Should go Michael Choyel. We should finish Shas together. You should go for being a big part of this year. Big Talmud Chacham, this guy. Here. Avi, when you start coming Motzei Shabbos, and instead of bike rides, we'll talk. This guy hasn't missed a day. Coming to this year has made me a different person in the morning, and Avi's coffee has mamish changed my life. Thank you so much for what you do. You touch people's hearts across the world, sometimes without even knowing. Kol Tov, Elimelech Goldberg. Finally got to meet the guy. He's in this base medrash. I met him in Miami. Finally got to meet him here at RBS. I'm a Talmud since Yevamos Daf Beis, says Shmuel Zundel. Joining me because of all, I learned the difficult Masechet Yevamos twice before. I never really truly understood it. Then I heard about some hotshot saying you can make Yevamos easy, and I said, game on. Even though I was already learning the Daf twice in Chicago, home of twins, Al Capone and Eli Stefansky, apparently separated at birth. By the middle of Yevamos, okay, it was the middle of the Daf Beis, I was hooked. I knew I found the perfect Magid for me. In spite of my complicated life, you visited my home last Pesach and met Izzy. Or maybe you meant your complicated life. My tzaddik, I've yet to miss a daf. Not only I was finally kohen to Masechet Yevamos, but my terminally ill Izzy is gaining from every daf that I learn as good for his health. And making achnos sefer Torah for his bar mitzvah in 6 months, even though the doctor said he would likely not live to celebrate his 10th birthday. Looking forward to greeting and thanking you at the upcoming scene in Chicago. Your eternally grateful Talmud, Shmuel Zundel. Dear Rebelli, I heard you, not paskin, but perhaps recommend to measure kizayis matzah by weight. I believe that there's a serious machlokes achronim regarding measuring matzah by weight or by volume. Ashkenazim seem to paskin based on the Mishnah Brura that we measure by volume, not by weight. That's a big chiddush to me because I know many people measure. I have to look into it. So again, I don't know. I'm not passing. I'm not even bringing what he's saying as halacha either. The Kavachayim seems to passing by weight. Thanks for everything, mamish kol tuv. Hatzlacha b'chol ha'inyanim. Can't wait to see my cousin Mendy's status about Masechta Soita Menachem Braun. Where is Mendy today? I wanted to do that status with him. Rabbi Yisai, some of you know what Chat GPT is, but I'm sure some of you don't. Those who don't have smartphones. Anyways, it's a artificial intelligence program that you put in certain things in there, and it spits out essays and stuff like that. So here's a poem by Chat GPT. You ready? Noam, you hear? A poem by Chat GPT. Good morning, Rabbi Yisai. It's time for the daf. With Eli Stefansky, we'll have a good laugh. He's learning Nazir in Panovich Yeshiva style with jokes and humor that'll make you smile. Rebelli starts every shir with a good morning, but in Panovich Yeshiva it's more like a warning. That you better be ready for some deep Torah talk, or else you might end up like the Nazir who can't walk. Nazir can't walk. And Mesechtes Nazir, Rebelli teaches us well with insights that are deeper than a bottomless well. But don't worry, it'll make it easy to understand, even if you're not a Panovich or a Torah command. So come on and join us for some learning and fun with the Rebelli and his Panovich or wit. He's very big into this Panovich. Will never be done. With jokes and Torah insights that are second to none, we'll laugh and learn until the rising of the sun. Have a wonderful Shabbos, your Talmud Avi B, Waterbury, Connecticut. The Koilel is sponsored by Anon Ymous from Lakewood. The second sponsor, the Koilel. By the way, Rabbi Yisai, I keep on forgetting to say this. The Koilel guys right now, they finally moved into this building after 4 years. When did they move in? For Ben Izmanim Koilel. So the official, they're learning in the afternoon here, and they are preparing for 1,200 daf test from brachas until Nazir. 1,000. Think about the number. 1,200 daf. That's the current. Faher test from Dirshu. It's a very tough test, and that's what they're learning now. Rabbi Yisai, if you want to be mishtatif in giving the Koil guys a little bit for Pesach, we are still taking whatever you give. They deserve it. They're a very big part of the shir, and there'll be even a bigger part coming next month where they're going to be here in the Beis Medrash, and many people from the neighborhood are going to be learning with them, etc., etc. So the Koil, the second sponsor of the month, Reuven Klein, in honor of my daughter Aliza becoming a Kala to Tzvi Chaim Nadov from Toronto. Shkoyach. Okay, thank you. We'll take it. The Masechta is sponsored by Maaser. The second sponsor of the Masechta is Zechariah Bas Yosef, by Anon Ymous. Paras HaChodesh number 1 from Flatbush for continued bracha, mazel, and clarity. Paras HaChodesh number 2, Landy Family, Leilu Nishmas Chaim ben Yishai. 3, Leilu Nishmas Chaim Elefant, Chaim ben Ya'akov Shmuel Zechariah by his Westside friends. 4, Leilu Nishmas Zechariah ben Moshe. Chaim Elefant reminds everybody that even a young person in good shape could suddenly leave us, and therefore we have to prepare and we have to learn a lot of Torah. Paras HaChodesh, Leilu Nishmas Zechariah ben Moshe. Paras HaChodesh, the MDY Family, Leilu Nishmas Chaim Oren, Zechariah ben ybl'c Eliyahu. Chaim Oren, sometimes known as Charlie, was Elliot Mattingly's young son, just turned 1, and was nifter Thursday afternoon in Boston. And the Paras HaYom, Anon Trauring, in memory of my father, Immanuel Trauring. Is that how you pronounce it? Yitzchok ben Avraham Yosef, the art of the month, for complete refuah for Chaim Tzvi ben Leah. And Rabbi Yisai, as I mentioned yesterday, people took bulk art scrolls. They requested, they got it. Nachum Horowitz in Baltimore got 7 people. Chaim Peretz Levine's today at the mall. I forgot the name of the mall, but in Passaic. Who else? We had the guys in Gershi Rose and then Shimi Leafman in Manchester. I'm missing some. Who else? Oh, Mo Landy. Mo Landy is doing one by Shiners. You too could. By the way, if somebody doesn't, if it's kind of late and you want to get some Gemaras, just buy them. Maybe we'll reimburse you. It's a good, what's his name? He's going to kill me, Nissan Al-Gans. But I'll reimburse you. You take Gemara, what? Brokevim Mall, that's what it is? Okay, Givaldik. Take some Gemaras, put up a stand. You did it once, no? How did it work? 9 people? How long were you out there for?
Long enough.
9 hours?
No.
9 people to do the daf. It's like one daf. 2 every day. It's another daf. Every day you get the schar. You enjoy the schar. It's unbelievable. All right. So join MDY.com, etc., etc. Rabbi Yisai yesterday. Here we go. With Daf Samach Beis Amud Aleph, all the way on top, and we had this pasuk yesterday. Daber b'nei Yisrael v'amart aleim ish. So we learned that this pasuk does 2 things. First, it comes to exclude anybody that's not part of b'nei Yisrael for erechin. Right? So let's look at the whole pasuk. V'amart aleim ish ki yafli neder be'erkecha nefashis l'Hashem. Erechin is when somebody says to somebody else, Erkoi alai, whatever his worth is based on the Torah, and there's a whole list of things from 5 months, from 1 month to 5 years, 5 years to 20, etc. Male, female, there's a list. Which, by the way, I didn't mention yesterday, you can mention today. Erchen teaches us a very, very important lesson in Yiddishkeit, that it doesn't matter if the person is the Golad Dar, is the Chavetz Chaim, or he's a Balabas. In terms of a Kosh Baruch Hu and Erchen, everybody's equal. Every Yid is equal to the other Yid in a certain way. Erchen, we're all the same. So in this pasuk we learned, Bnei Yisrael teaches us no non-Jews. Ish comes to include other people other than Klal Yisrael. So what do we say the pshat is? One pshat is that we split Erchen in half. In order to be a Mayrich. So check this out. Yesterday, Yoshi wasn't happy with what he drew, so he stayed up again till 2 o'clock to finish this off, to get the guy in the bed. He had Peretz Chaim Levin. Peretz Chaim Levin asked me today, is that me? It doesn't look like me. Everybody else thinks it's him, besides him. What? We think that, but when you're the person himself, it doesn't know. I know you did. Everybody screaming out, Peretz Chaim Levin. And he said, oh, because I had the sign. No, I said last night.
So light. That's what it is. Doesn't have a white beard.
That's the shot. Okay.
Bad example anyway, because every neshama that he brings to the shir is priceless.
Oh. You mean you shouldn't be the Mayrich and the Nerach?
Very good.
Okay. Very good. I hope everybody heard it because I'm not repeating. Why not? Because I don't know exactly how to repeat it. What do you say? That every neshama that he brings to the shir is priceless. Okay, it can't be him. But here he is with a sign, with his Gemara, and he's the Marich. He's the one saying Erko Elai. The one in the bed, I'm not exactly sure who, it's probably just this, who's sleeping with a lit blanket. He's a Nerach, he's the subject. So depending how old that guy is, if he's a teenager, under 20, above 20, 20 is the cutoff. So maybe if he's 21, it's a different Erachin. So Nachamal, the Gemara just said that Bnei Yisrael says that only a Jew could be a Marich. Only a Jew could be Peretz Chaim Levin. The Nerach, the subject, could be a non-Jew as well. That's what we learned. So now we're holding 2 lines down. Yihachi ish ki yafli neder berkecha berchen lamali. So going back to this pasuk, v'amart aleim ish. Why do I need ish? At the end of the day, there's a hekesh between a neder and erachin. In this pasuk, it says neder berkecha. You see the 2 purple words? It says the word neder, and it says erachin. So there's a hekesh. V'tanya gabi nedarim. So if I know one halacha by a neder, I know the other halacha by erachin. And it says by Nidarim, ish. Matam aloymar, ish. Why does this pasuk right over here say the word ish twice? Ish, min beis Yisrael, min ager b'Yisrael, sheyager, l'chol nidreim, l'chol nidvaisam. I probably should have highlighted the Nidarim and Nidavas. Does anybody remember what a Nidava means versus a Neder? What's a Nidava? Wow. Moiridik. It gives me a lot of nachas. Nidava hare zoo. Where do you find a dove, a bear, in a zoo? You don't remember that? It's your first time? And that's how I think that's how the Olam remember, no? Did anybody remember from this? Raise your hand. Okay. Yeah. Nidava hare zoo. You find a dove in the zoo. I forgot who came up with that one. It wasn't me. Yes. Anyways, the rabbi says, yesterday we had Rava that says that a non-Jew cannot do Nidarim and Nidavos. Today we're going to attempt to say that he could, and we're going to come out at the end, l'chayr, that he cannot. But it says, what do you do with the extra word ish? Extra word ish is the rabbis. The rabbis say, like a Jew. So if so, once we have this concept by a neder, ishki yafli berachin lamali, we just take the same idea from a neder and put it back in erachin, and in erachin we know that Erechin is like Nidarim. Elo ha'ish miboyer le'lasui mufla samach leish. You're right. So I don't need the word ish. So if a guy is in Erechin, he's in Nidarim and Davos, so he's in Erechin. He could do part of the Erechin. I know he can't be completely in Erechin because it says Bnei Yisrael, and it's only Jews. But we learn Erechin from Nidarim, and we know that a guy is in the parsha of Nidarim. He can make a neder, and he has to keep his neder. So Memela, he could be the Nerach. He could be this guy. He could be the one sleeping. He could be the subject, not because of the word ish, but because I'm learning it from a neder. So then, what do I do with the word ish? The word ish is extra. Says Gemara, remember, we had the whole sugya when you have a kid that's between 12 and 13 years old. I brought you a Maaser Shahaya with my own son Aaron, who was a mufla samach leish. A Rabbi Robinson, a Rav in Chicago, came to our shul for some reason, maybe to ask the Rav what he should do. Rabbi Twersky, I'm not sure why, but he happened to be there. He usually doesn't daven there, and he grabbed my son and he asked me if he could use my son to be mafresh chal on the matzah. It was Lel Pesach, and he made the Erev Pesach matzahs, and he forgot to do Maaser, challah, first challah. The halacha is that although a gadol can't do it, but a katan could do it according to his shita, if he's a mufla samach leish, but he has to know who you make a shvuah to. You're making a shvuah to Rebbeinu Shalom. So he asked him, who do you make a shvuah to? And my son said, what's a shvuah? What? I just said the story a week ago. You guys are laughing as if you never heard it.
Never gets old.
Never gets old. So that's the mufla samach leish. Then what? Ish. We take this word ish. It's not just. It's in addition to the regular man. Over here you have a man that's almost a man. He understands Nidarim, so he could be in the parish of Erechin. That's great. You bring a word from the Torah because the concept is a Torah concept. What if you say the whole idea of mufla samach leish is only midirabanan? It can't be that there's a word in the Torah that teaches us a halacha derabanan. So Mela says Gemara mufla samach leish da'ivik chavim, which is amazing. In other words, mufla samach leish of a Jew is not a true concept midiraisa. Midiraisa, 12-year-old, is not in the parsha. But a guy who's less than 13 years old is in the parsha. That's what the Gemara just said. It doesn't work for a Jew, it works for a guy. What's the pshat? Some Sofer explains that the fact that a Jew becomes bar mitzvah when he's 13 years old is halacha l'Moshe Messinai. It's not a svara. Look at the children today. If they wouldn't be in the shir right now, I would tell you exactly what it. The 13-year-olds are like 6-year-olds of 10 years ago, right? What? The ones that are here are the exceptions. They're like the 10 years ago, the 20 years ago, the different generation, right? You guys don't know. We used to be much more mature when we were that age. We used to be like Akiva Solway, that kind of kid. No, he's like a 20-year-old. Fine. Not to exclude other kids. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so if we're going to look at these kids, maybe every generation says the same thing about generation. Oh, we were so much more mature. Yeah, some of these kids, what, the mamish chayv mitzvahs? Can't be the chayv mitzvahs. Look at them. They play on the floor. They play with kugelach. They're eating lollies. You give them a candy in shul, right? You see them running after the candy by the thing. Oh, this is a bar mitzvah boy. Oh yeah, he's a bar mitzvah. So must be halacha l'Moshe Messinai. It's halacha l'Moshe Messinai. We don't ask questions. But by a guy, it goes by seichel. You hear what's going on here? You look at him and say, oh, he has enough brains, he's a gadol. Says the Chasam Sofer, amazing thing. I thought this is amazing. Comes out like this. Before Matan Torah, you had a bunch of Jews walking around, and we looked at each one. He said, you're Chai b'mitzvahs, you're Chai, you're 11 and a half years old, you're pretty smart, you're good. Where's that Kimchi kid? He's probably bar mitzvah 6 years ago. Oh, here he is, he's in the back. Okay, you have a bright kid, a mature kid. What? You're going to be bar mitzvah next year? But if you were there by Matan Torah, you'd be bar mitzvah at 6 years old. That's what I'm trying to say. So it comes out That if you're there before Matan Torah, by the way, I'm just picking on kids, not to say that you're not as smart as him or anything else, or you're not as mature as the kids. Oh, okay. What did he say?
More mature. And the adults in this year.
Yeah, some of the kids act more mature than adults this year. Right there. Okay, so listen to this unbelievable chiddush. I'm in the middle of a beautiful chiddush here, says the Chaim Sofer. You have a kid who's 11 years old, halachically he's bar mitzvah. Comes Matan Torah, they give the Torah, and halacha l'ishma comes into effect that only when he's 13. So he goes from a gadol to a katan. In 1 minute, he flipped from a gadol to a katan, says the Chaim Sofer. Okay, but anyways, you see this idea that a Jew is not bar mitzvah and a guy is bar mitzvah. He becomes bar mitzvah, not 13. He becomes bar mitzvah whenever it is. Mufla samach lish, as long as he understands it. It could be. Yeah, there is no samach. There's no ish by a according to this. I'm saying based on this idea, there is no bar mitzvah by a guy. That's what we're saying. I think everybody learns like that. He just explains it. Okay, so now if we're going to go back to Chaim Peretz Levin, we understood until now that a Jew, here he is, wow, Shalom Aleichem. His beard is pretty white. What are you talking about? Not like the picture. Okay, we're going to put in a little gray in there. Oh, are you with Akiva Ziegler over there? That whole Chabura? I don't know, he doesn't hear. Okay, fine. They're doing a thing. Givaldik. Look at that. Okay, so we said that a Jew could be the marich. He's the one that says er koyalai. The guy could be the nerach. He could be the subject. That's if you hold like that. Sorry. So now we're going to say fakert. If you say this doesn't make sense according to what we said until now, why? Think about it. We'll stop before we say it inside. We're saying that the guy in the bed, he could be a non-Jew. And how old does he have to be? Mufla samach lish. He's a subject. A subject doesn't have to have brains. A subject could be a month old, and you point at a month-old kid and you say, Erko Elai, how much is a month-old kid? You open up you go to this chart, 1 month is worth 5 shekel. That's it. Which 1 month old has brains? He doesn't have to have brains. So how can you tell me that the pasuk is coming to say that the nerach has to be a certain age, has to have das, samach lish? So I'm thinking now that he might be right. I got to rethink this. According to it has to be 12-year-old because there's 2 things going on here. He has no das or das. How could it be samach to das? That doesn't make sense. He might be right, that it's close to the age of 13, samach lish. A guy needs das. So what's samach to das? Either he has it or he doesn't have. He has das, so he's a bar mitzvah. He's not a mufla samach. He's not close to das. So he might be right. Maybe there's another concept. It ruins the whole var, but there's another gether here. Bar mitzvah is when he has das. Mufla samach lish is even if he doesn't have das, if he's close to that age and he understands the darim and he has no das. I don't know. Okay, we have to look into it.
That's why we originally made it sleeping.
What?
That's why you originally made it sleeping.
Sleeping? Yeah.
To show that Hassan do das.
Right. That's why I did it. Very good, Leib. Leib says that the reason why the nerech is sleeping is it shows he doesn't have das. He doesn't need das. So let's see it inside. It's the opposite of what we were learning until now. If you say the pshat is that a non-Jew cannot be the subject, but he could be Peretz Chaim Levin, he could be the one pointing and saying Erka Lai, that makes a lot of sense. Now he has to have das. In order to do something like that, you have to have das, and it makes sense. Mufla samach lish. Makes sense. But if you hold, but if you hold like we were learning until now, that a Jew, only a Jew could do the erechin. He could say erker alai. I would think that he can't be in the bed, he can't be the subject. But at the end of the day, even a baby that doesn't have a seichel, could be the subject. How could you tell me that the subject needs to have das? Kiafli lamali. What do I need? Kiafli means he has to be clear, he has to understand. Omer gadol. The gadol who ve'enu yedei lahaflois. Says the Gemara, very interesting. You have a non-Jew who's already a gadol. In other words, he has enough seichel, whatever the pshat and gadol is. He's at least 13 maybe, or according to the Chassam Sofer, he has a lot of seichel. But when it comes to understanding Erechin, he has no clue. He can't say it clearly. So it comes out very interesting, Rabbi Yisai. Comes out that we have two limudim now. We have ish, to exclude somebody that doesn't have enough seichel. And what do you do with Bnei Yisrael? To exclude all non-Jews. So, in fact, you could just do Bnei Yisrael, all non-Jews. But that's jumping too far. So I use one word to teach us an easier halacha, that only somebody that doesn't know what's going on. And then once I know that, then I could say Bnei Yisrael means literally only Jews in Erechin and nobody else. Elo ki afli because Rachmana gave Nazirus lamali. Now, by Nazirus, it says Dabe ben Israel badalim isha ki yafli. You see, it says ki yafli. According to this, huh? Yeah, right. That's what comes out here. Not like we said yesterday. So, in this pasuk of Nazirus, Neder Nazir Lahazal Hashem, it also uses the word Yafli. As the Gemara, why do I need this word Yafli? Yafli means that he has to be clear, he has to know what Nazirus is. In this pasuk, look, in the purple, Neder Nazir, they're together. Nidarim, and we learned when we learned Masechtas Nidarim. In our Masechtas Nazir, we also. Nazirus is a type of a neder. And you see the hekesh here. So if I know that by a neder you have to be clear, so I know the same idea, by Nazirus, you have to know what's going on. Ki afli lamali, so why do I need it? Says Gemara, la'asu yudayim she'ena mechichos. So this is a yad. A yad means a handle. You have the meaty part, the main part, and you have the thing that holds on. It's not as strong. If you remember, we learned in the beginning of this Masechta, kinui and yad. So a kinui, we're not talking about it at all, but just to remind Olam, hey nazik instead of nazir. Now the way you're supposed to say the way you become a nazir, you say two words, hareini nazir. But what if a person says, "Good morning, Rabbi," say ah is nazirus, finished. That's why you're not supposed to say anymore. It's a yad, meaning I know what you want to say. It's not 100% the hareini nazir. Aha, hey. Not aha. Hey, no. These are yadayim. So, lasu yadayim she'enim mechichos. You can't tell me that a hey means nazirus. It's not obvious. But I'm going to tell you, I have a machlokes whether or not this constitutes nazirus. Yadayim she'enim mechichos. Ditma. Yadayim she'enim mechichos. Abai Omar havi yadayim. Rav Omar lo havi yadayim. So in Meila, the Rava, you have to be Garis the Rava Nicha. Rava says it's not a good thing, it doesn't work. Great, because it says in the pasuk, Yafli, you have to be clear. And you weren't clear. You said some sort of lashon that's a handle that's not very clear. So it doesn't work. So why do I need the word Yafli? Why do I need to be clear? Even a Yad She'emer Chiach, even if you're very unclear, it still makes you a Nazir. So then what does the word Yafli that you have to be clear come to teach us? Look at the retired fine. Comes to teach us something else. The Sanya. You have in the Mishnah over there, you have a person coming towards them. And a guy says, I'll be a Nazir if that's Ruvain. And it turns out that it's Ruvain. It is Ruvain. Says Reb Tarfon he's not a Nazir. Why? Nazir. Two friends. One guy says it's Ruvain, one guy says it's Shimon. Turns out it's Ruvain. Nobody's a Nazir. Why? When you say you're Nazirus, when you make your condition, it has to be clear to you. If it's unclear, it's we don't know exactly what it is. We're not 100% certain. So you can't become a Nazir based on uncertainty. It has to be clear. Let's just show this chart just for a second. This is a Yoshi. It says in the pasuk Bnei Yisrael. So it comes to exclude a guy. So what do you do with ki afli? According to Rava, it comes to exclude yadayim shem echicha isli havi yadayim. And according to Abaya, it depends. Now we're in Rebbe Tarfon. It comes to exclude, to say that if a person makes Nazirus with a Tanai and he doesn't know what it is, it doesn't work. Yafli, you have to be clear. And according to Rebbe Lezer, we're going to see in a second, it comes to teach us, ki yafli, that you could go to the Rav to undo your nether. Says the Gemara, Hanichel Rebbe Tarfon. That's great if you hold like Rebbe Tarfon, that you have to be clear when you make a nether. But there are those who argue Rebbe Tarfon. Again, what do I do with the word ki afli? According to Rabbanan, you don't have to be clear. You see somebody from a distance and say, I'm going to become a Nazir. If it's Ruvain, it turns out it's Ruvain, you do become a Nazir. You don't have to be clear. This idea, you just see what it is. Here. This idea that a person can walk over to 3 Rabbanim or a professional, one professional, and say, hey, I need to get out of my nether. Parchim ba'avir. We don't have a solid source for it in the Torah. It's flying in the air. It's weak. We don't have a good pasuk. I could connect this idea into a pasuk. Shenemar ish kiyafli. Kiyafli shtei pa'amim. Let's see where it is. Here, right over here. Ish or isho kiyafli. This is by what? By a Nazir. So it says kiyafli. And what does it say by Erechin? Kiyafli. So since it says yafli twice, echad afla le'isur. It's teaching us that you do Erechin, and you make it isur. You make it isur. Echad afla le'heter. And the extra kiyafli, you ask me, what do I do with the kiyafli? According to Reb Tarfon, it means you have to be clear. But according to Chachamim, you don't have to be clear. So what do I do with the kiyafli? To teach us this halacha, that if you go to a Rav, he could undo your nether. It's a smach in the Torah. Doesn't say mefurish, but don't tell me it's parchim ba'avir. It's some abstract halacha that almost has no connection to Torah. It is somewhat in the Torah. Turning to Daf Sam. Oh, so before I go there, I just want to show you real quickly what Yoshi did. We could go over here first. So this was Nazirus, the pasuk of Nazirus. And now the pasuk of Erechin. Bnei Yisrael, according to Reb Meir, he learns from Bnei Yisrael that a goy is not an Erechin. He can't be a Mayrich. He can't do the Mayrich part. He can't say Erecha Elai. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the goy cannot be the subject. What do we do with the hekesh of Nedarim and Erechin? To teach us that a goy, so now it's the reverse. Reb Meir says a goy can't be a Mayrich, but he could be a Nerach. Rabbi Yehuda says a goy can't be a Nerach, he could be a Mayrich, and now we learn from the hekesh. Ish kiyafli, and that we just saw, to take away a goy, to be married a goy that doesn't know do afla, or to be married a goy that's mufla samach lish. 5. Says the Mishnah. Leave it up there if you want to see it. Sponsor Hatzlacha for Aryeh Leib ben Aliza Simcha Shena Masha and Aliza Simcha Shena Masha bat Bracha LeAliyat with the Magid Shir and the members of the HBA Group and their families. Amen. We have at least 11 minutes to go. No, we started like 10, 11 minutes late. Seriously. 11. So yesterday we said that there's something that women have more of a chumrah than slaves, than avadim. And now we're going to say that avadim have more chumrah of a isha. Why? Shumei for nidre ishtoi, ve'enu mei for nidre avdoi. The master, the husband. Okay, we'll talk about the master. The master said master. I have to say master. Master cannot be made for his eved's nidarim. So if a eved makes a neder, he makes nazirus. Let's say, hold on. This is what we were talking about yesterday. If he makes nazirus, the Adain cannot say you're not a Nazir. But the Adain could say you have to drink wine. I want you to drink wine. When it comes to his wife, that is a Mefurish, a pasuk that a husband could undo his wife's nidarim. Heifer le'ishtai, he says the Mishnah, heifer le'ishtai, heifer lamis. Once he does a hafara, he makes his wife completely taken away from the nether, from the Nazirus. So if 5 days later he says, listen, I want you to become a Nazir again, too bad. He can't make her a Nazira, he can't give her a nether. Heifer la'avdai. This is a tricky word, it's not the real word. Over here it means if he forced his Eved to drink wine, he wasn't Mefer because we just said he can't be Mefer. But if he forces his Eved to drink wine, Yotze Lecheres Mashal Nizirusai. It's not there forever. So if he wants to take it back, he wants his Eved to be a Nazir, he can make him a Nazir. And if, by the way, Reb David, since you started going, wherever you go, a few days we didn't have Birkas Kahanim. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't go. I'm saying that there's another Kayan around, and he wants to daven in our minyan. He did us a big favor. He used to daven in the 6:30 minyan every single day, and he did us a tremendous favor. There's many days that he's the only Kayan there. But now he has some other arrangements.
Tomorrow's the last day.
Oh, tomorrow's the last day. So next month, we'll be back for Girvaldi. Okay, fine. Scratch that. And we'll probably have, anyways, we have a lot of Bachram these days. Okay. Tarabanan. Lima Rabbi Koifai. For what? Not Lama. Lima. For what could the master force the Eved? Linazirus. He could force him to drink wine, even though he's not supposed to be drinking wine. Avaloi linidorim v'le'erechin. But he cannot undo his Eved's neder. Remember yesterday we said that an Eved cannot do nidarim at all. Says the Gemara, Ma'ishna Gabi Nazir. What's the difference? Why could he force his Eved to drink wine? You have to have a nefesh. Here, we have the pasuk over here. We're talking about a neder. He has to have a nefesh, and because he's an Eved, he doesn't have his own nefesh. Okay, but listen to this. If it comes out that if the Adain is maskim, then it is an eder. Unlike we said yesterday, that no matter what, Eved doesn't have the right to make a neder. Over here, it's dependent on the Adain. If he wants to, he could, not. So, what? Yeah. Why only by Nazirus, ask the Gemara, why only by Nazirus could a Adain say, here, you are drinking this wine? By Nether also, we have the same, it's a Lashon by Nedarim. You can force the Eved to break his Nether. We're talking about, there's one bunch of grapes here. The whole svara is that it has to be something that's bad for the other. So when he says, I'm not going to eat from these grapes, okay, you won't eat from these grapes, you'll eat from other grapes. It's cool that we learned already in the beginning of the Masechta, that if a person says, I'm a Nazir from one grape, becomes a Nazir for everything. So that's not good for the other. He wants his slave to be a strong slave. Whoa, time out. Maybe we're talking about a situation that if he doesn't eat this grape, he's also going to be weak, this slave. Who told you what the situation? Maybe we're talking about a situation they're on an island, this is the only food he has. And maybe he should be able to break. In other words, you can't put me in a court. It has to be every given case. And you're telling me it's a case that there's one eshkol. Okay, so there's one eshkol also by another. There's no more grapes in the world. And he made a nether against the grapes and he's going to be very weak. So the other should be able to break it. Let's go a little bit deeper. You know what? It was one seed. What's one seed anyway? He only made another against this one seed. Big deal. The master has no right. Once you say one seed, you become a real Nazir. he could break it. So that's the difference between a neder and a naziros. And the naziros he could break because it has to do with the master. He's losing a slave. He's getting a weak slave if he becomes a nazir. Maybe he's on an island. The only piece of food is that little seed, and now that's a lifesaver. And therefore, he should be able to break his neder. Also, fine. Says the Gemara. Anyway, you see over here a very interesting thing, that wine actually helps a person. And we have it a number of times. The Gemara in Nida says that Abba Shaul used to see from the bones of dead people, you'd see which person didn't drink wine. If the bones were brittle, he said there's a person that didn't drink enough wine. And Rava said that he became smart because he drank a lot of wine. Okay. That's in Masechtas. Anybody? What Masechtas is that in? Yuma. Talking about Rava here. I'm sorry, we're starting Shachas much later because we had technical difficulties. We didn't start Shir for at least 10 minutes late. Fine. The key word here is tzarech. Before we said, what could a master, if he feels like it? Over here, he must. In other words, Linaziros. He has no way, there's only one eitzah for the master, is to break his Naziros. In other words, he doesn't have to. Over here, we're going back, like we said yesterday, that an Eved doesn't have the right to make a neder, and therefore he doesn't have to break it, because it happens by itself. Automatically, if an Eved makes a neder, it flies out the window. But if he wants an Eved that could drink wine, he must break the Naziros, not like we said before that he could. Over here it's tzarech, and he can't. It's not yachal by a neder. It's einu tzarech at all. My time adamakra lahara lehetiv matav rishus afaro rishus says in the pasuk the two words for the good and the bad. You're making a neder for the good and the bad, right? A person can not make a neder for the bad. In other words, he can make it. You hear this? I can make a neder that's detrimental for my health, but I can't make a neder I'm going to punch you in the face. Or like they say in New York, I'll kick you in the head. That you can't do. Why? Zaser. Can't kick someone in the head. So that kind of neder doesn't work. What about Eved? He makes a neder, I'm not going to drink wine. But it's bad. It's bad for me. You can't do something. You can't make a neder that's bad for somebody else. Kick somebody in the head. Or ruin the other and paid $100,000 for the prize Eved. And now his Eved is worth $20,000 because he doesn't drink wine. That you can do. Oh, I just want to say this real quickly, because we're done here, okay? Unfortunately, we're done a little early. In the Tosefta it says, listen to this, a guy that works on a salary, he's not a kablon, not a guy that works by the job. A lot of us work by the day. It says in Tosefta, it's also for you to make yourself hungry. If you're working for somebody, you have to come with all force. You can't be weak. Listen to this. The Rambam of the Shulchan Aruch paskin that it's usher, and in the Rambam, it's usher to go onto your phone and check out your WhatsApp while you're working. It's Gneva Gemura. In other words, you have to be there 100%. They bring a raya from Yaakov Avinu that he told Lavan, he says, B'kol koichi, I worked with all my might. In other words, somebody that's on a salary has to work 100%. So he has to come healthy, well rested, fed, and he can't waste any time. Azay state. And Memela, if Eved tries to not be like that, not be 100%, by not getting the wine, by not drinking wine, the Adon has the right to break the neder, to break the naziros. Rabbi Yisai, have a wonderful day.